Welcome, everyone. It's great to see all your faces on Zoom. I'd like to call the meeting to order. We respectfully acknowledge that the County of Haliburton is located on Treaty 20 Mississauga territory and in the traditional territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa Nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations, which are Curve Lake, Rama, Hiawatha, Alderville, Scugog Island, Beausoleil, and Georgina Islands First Nations. We acknowledge the shared presence of Indigenous nations throughout the area and recognize its original Indigenous inhabitants as the stewards of its lands and waters since time immemorial. So I'd like to again thank you all for coming, and thanks very much to our guests who are here for a portion of today. Robin Rogers, the clerk from Highlands East, Vicky Bull from clerk's office in Minden Hills, and Amanda Duncombe Lee, who is in the clerk's office at Dysart. So it's great to have you all with us today. Always appreciated. And with this in mind, I'd like to suggest one change to our agenda and then one addition to our agenda. I'd like to recommend that we move point 11.1, which is the accessibility plan, move it up to point 7 so that we can chat with our guests sooner rather than later and then allow them to move on with their day. And then we have had, separate point, we have had one resignation from the committee. And if we could add that to new business, then that will be something we'll advise you of then and seek your thumbs up on before passing that news on to County Council. So with those amendments in mind, could I have a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda? Ben, thank you. And Anne, wonderful. All in favor? That's carried. Thanks.
Do I need to read the motion?
I don't tend to worry about it for the the adoption of the agenda, but yeah, I think for the more substantive ones, it's definitely something that we would have to do. Yeah.
Perfect.
And so that was Ben and Anne, mover and seconder. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? Seeing none. Have members of the committee had an opportunity to read the minutes from October 8? And are there any questions or concerns? Excellent. So could I have a mover and a seconder, please, for the minutes of October 8? Ben, thank you. And Lisa, thanks very much. That's great. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Great. So moving 11.1 up to 7. Sue, would you like to walk us through this point of where we are with our 2025 accessibility plan review?
You bet. So before you is the joint accessibility plan with updates from 2025. Typically, this plan is updated with support from each of our local municipalities as well as the county. I'm thanking everyone for their thorough help in this update of making sure that we've added everything that has been accomplished this year, making sure that we've made amendments where we've needed to, and including any future plans that might go forward into next year. So from this plan, you'll be able to see that the tracking throughout the plan, and thanking greatly the support of Alicia, our admin clerk, for ensuring that these changes were made accurately. But we also have a document that shows some of the highlights throughout the year of accessibility accomplishments. And the accessibility accomplishments document does not show every change that has made throughout the county to reduce barriers for folks with people with disabilities, but it does highlight some of the variety actually of changes that have been made in different areas. So it would be best, I think, if each of the municipalities speaks to the plan from their perspective of what they've been able to work on this year, what they are moving forward with in the next year. I can certainly speak to the some of the county pieces. So I think from our standpoint, you will see some of the changes that have been made by the Accessibility Committee throughout this year, some of the plans that we have, and in terms of bringing forward the stopgap project and ensuring that we continue to invite different stakeholders to the table to discuss their experiences in the county, or as subject matter experts, their experiences with disability. So I think that's everything from the county in terms of changes. We also note the construction to the administration building, which will start soon. And those plans came to the committee earlier this year through our public works director. The committee was able to speak to those plans. So going forward, those accessibility changes will be made to some of the building that we currently meet in, and the building across the street that we will meet in the future. But opening as well to anybody from each of the municipalities who would like to speak to some of the changes that have been made or that are being made as well.
And just before we move on to that, I wonder if I could ask IT, Warden Burton is in the waiting room on his phone. If you are able to allow him into the meeting, I'd be much obliged. So yes, back to the regular scheduled events. Thoughts from Vicky or Robin? Amanda, would anyone like to start out with what they've been working on?
Sure, I can go ahead, or Vicky. Both of us at the same time.
Okay, Robin, how about you take it away?
Okay, great. Good afternoon, committee members and staff. So with Highlands East this year, we did have to go through an audit. This was our second accessible audit. We had our first one in 2019, and then again this year. So our our accomplishments to date, as has been reported previously to the committee, is regarding Herlihy Park. We have completed our trails and pathways. So that it was a huge thing, and we had a grand opening for that. We will be looking going into 2026 into our stage 2. And the stage 2 will be composed of a pavilion, and we're also looking at playground. And with respect to the playground, we will be looking at applying for funding through the Trillium grant to hopefully get funding for an accessible playground. Now, at this time, we don't have any designs yet for the pavilion. However, of course, when we do, we will be, bringing that forth to you for your review and comment. So that's been our huge undertaking, and that probably is our focus going into 2026, is Herlihy, getting it more accomplished, and we did have use just with having the paths done this season. So I just see greater amount of people utilizing it going forward. Some of our other accomplishments that we've had, we did put in a new ramp to the Lloyd Watson Center, which also provides to the municipal offices because it had deteriorated, so it needed to be replaced. And that was done back in the summer. The other thing that we have done also due to our audit and during COVID, our design of the municipal office, typically anybody could come in and we would accommodate basically at desks. But then when COVID hit, of course, some other preventive measures had to go up, and therefore through that, we had to, because our reception area is quite small, we had to design an accessible counter which is movable. So that was a huge accomplishment as well. That was an undertaking over the course of the audit period. As Sue can contest, we did have to make modifications to our website. Our website, of course, was reported last time I was attending a meeting. But again, we did have to allocate a paragraph in there with regards to preventative and emergency maintenance of accessible elements. So that was done across our website as well. I'm just seeing what else here. I've mentioned our website. I mean, that's always ongoing, as well as providing, accessible training to all the staff. Just keeping on top of our accessible, making documents accessible. So that's always ongoing. And the Cardiff pool, we did report that previously as well. So really, Hurley has been our main focus, and just going through the audit process this year has been a huge undertaking for the municipality. And moving forward, like I said, 2026, Hurley will be a huge focus. And oh, one other thing. We will be in 2026 getting a communications board. Sue, my understanding is you are quite known to this, the AAC board, I believe. So that will also be coming in 2026 for Highlands East. And that's my review. Any
Thanks,
questions,
Robin.
I'll be happy to answer.
Cease, anything you want to add to that? Any thoughts, comments? Or Dave, you're on the line as well. Either of you, of course. Oh, and he's left.
No, I think that's pretty well sums up most of it. Like I say, it's first and foremost in a lot of the stuff that we do. So again, with Herky Park, we already brought, or should I say, our operations manager came in and did a fairly good presentation. So as that moves along, things will be adjusted accordingly. And we have other things too that we have to deal with. So
thanks very much. Any questions from the committee? Kathy, did you have a question?
No, sorry, I'm just trying to get picture going.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks very much. That's great news. And I regret to say I've still not been to Hurley, and this presentation has reminded me that it is a priority, and I will absolutely go. In fact, Cease, if you would like to accompany me and show me all your favorite parts, that'd be just great. It'd be a real pleasure to explore.
it would be an awesome opportunity, and it would be an honor for Highlands East to have you there. Just to put it in
Thank
perspective.
you. Great. Thanks a lot, Robin. That's great.
Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks. Vicky, would you like to step in and tell us what you've been doing in Minden?
Absolutely. So thank you for the invite to attend today's committee meeting. Through the chair, we are happy to advise that we have actually sought engineering drawings and scope of improvements for our municipal building and accessible ramps. So we're working towards facilitating some of those changes. We applied for a grant opportunity for the SG Nesbitt Memorial Arena for the accessible buttons and the washroom accessible door systems. The grant that we've applied for, it's an easement grant. So hopefully we're successful in obtaining that funding. We've also been investigating for 2026 some capital projects for review with the municipal street dock. We've also sought engineering drawings and scope of improvements for the library accessible ramp as well. For the washrooms at the fairgrounds, Kinsman actually received a grant opportunity, so we'll be proceeding with those upgrades, and they're hoping to have that completed by the spring in 2026. So congratulations to Kinsman. That's excellent. We are also scheduled to start a new development for the Lachlan Community Center. So that's very exciting. And of course, we will implement any of the accessibility requirements in that build. I think we did complete the public washrooms over at the old fire hall, but we've also had to do a few upgrades since the initial renovation. So that has been completed. And I think we were also looking at upgrading some of the Main Street crosswalks. And we're hoping to do that in 2026 as well. Our new website launched December 1st of this year, which was quite an endeavor by the clerk's department and all of our media champions. So big shout out to them. We are working very hard to make sure it meets all those accessibility requirements. And we'll continue to do so with other documents that the township provides or receives. So happy to take any questions that the committee may have. Excuse me.
Yes, Ben.
In the construction and design of these washrooms to test them for accessibility, did you bring in people with multiple different types of mobility aids? Because I've noticed even in the community center where I live, near the Parkside Apartments in that community center, I'm not able to use their bathrooms because of where the railing is in the bathroom is for some reason positioned behind the toilet. So as someone in a power wheelchair, I'm not able to use that bathroom. So
Thank you for that. And through the chair, thank you for that question, Ben. I can check with some of the directors that have managed those projects. For sure, we will make sure that that's expressed for the development at the Lachlan Community Center. I've made a note here, and we'll make sure that we get that added to our list. Thank you.
I don't know if it's the same building that we're talking about, but I mean in the arena where I live next to my apartment in the Parkside Street, I noticed that whenever I go into the gym area, the first door that I have to go through, there's no button on it for me to press to get in. So one of the people I'm going to class with always has to hold it for me.
Thank you very much. I will make a note of that.
Thanks, Ben.
So, yeah, I think that we just need to re-examine some of our standing buildings in the new year for like bringing people in with multiple mobility devices and testing. Does this person with a walker, can they get in? Does this person with a power chair, can they get in? Can this person with a manual chair get in?
Well said, Ben.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you, Ben.
Yeah, and does someone who requires assistance by another person, are they able to get in? You know, does the space allow them to do whatever they need to do as well? Yeah. Yeah. Lisa, you had your hand up.
I was just going to add to what Ben and what Vicky were saying, that the SG Nesbitt Arena is definitely on the radar, and why or how it got missed, we don't know. But the doors going out to the arena where the spectators can watch hockey and skating, etc., also does not have a button, so that it is also going to be replaced.
Great news. Thanks very much for that. Any other comments or questions for Vicky? Okay, thanks. Oh, Ben, yes. Continue.
Sorry, I mean, the ramp that goes up to the Minden Cultural Center, is anything being done about that? Because I noticed that the railings are starting to rust and the wood is starting to look a little rotted.
Through the chair, to Ben, absolutely, I'll make a note of that and I'll follow up with the director. I know they are looking at a few of the ramps on all of our facilities, so I will certainly add that. Ben, thank you.
Cease, yeah.
Just when you were talking about automatic door openers, God knows why things pop in and out of your head, but that's what happens. Using the McCausland Center, for instance, we have accessibility doors off the gymnasium, so they open up like huge, and anybody can walk through. And Ben, regardless of what mode was required to get there, would be a problem. But we do have one challenge in that facility, and that's the access door to get into the building. If you are the one opening the building, it opens outwards, and it does not have that capability now. Is that something that like that's not cheap? That is extremely expensive. We have to take that door off. We would have to change the way it operates, which would make it difficult because it stops being a panic door from the inside because it has to open outwards. So is that something that would be acceptable? I realize if you're in a mobility restricted area and you're the one trying to open the facility, you cannot open it. You have to have someone else who has mobility open it. I don't think there's a way we can get around that.
Cease, if I may, Jen,
Mhm.
we will take care of that, Cease, if I may. We can certainly take care of that, and your concerns are well founded. But if we can find some funding, because there's no way we can afford to do that one, I guarantee that, unless you take the whole front off the building.
That's my point. And that's exactly my point. And some of them, as my dad used to say, the impossible I handle right away. Miracles take a little longer. And I think this puppy falls into a miracle. We'd have to completely rebuild that building. And we want to be compliant, but I think there are certain situations where we just may not be able to be. And that's one of them.
If I might jump in here, one tactic that we've adopted in Algonquin Highlands, and I'm sure in the other municipalities as well, is to be shovel ready in case grants come up. So in the Algonquin Highlands section,
Okay.
which I'll speak to as we're missing someone from the staff, we've got a community center that is deeply inaccessible. It's a very old structure, and it just fails on every level when it comes to accessibility, and it's going to be very expensive to transform. So we will soon be we have now prepared, and tomorrow we will be looking at 3 different options for making the buildings accessible, in the hopes that council will agree to one. And that will be a shovel-ready project in case a grant should come up for accessibility, and we can submit right away. So it sounds like your structure, Cease, could fall into that same kind of category.
Yeah, it was built, I believe the original construction date was 1991. I could be a little off, but it's definitely within a couple of years of there. And we were able to make a lot of great adjustments to the washrooms to make them accessible. Like I say, we do have an access door on the side that enables anybody coming in. That's the one issue that is just something that, although we truly want to be as accessibly compliant as we can, it just can't be done.
Yeah.
It's in case somebody points it out, I just wanted to bring it to your attention.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for that.
And Jen, if I may?
Yeah.
Madam Chair, we do have side doors on that complex that we can get people in. It's just not the front entrance, but there are side doors that are open wide. Yes, there's a few issues with the washrooms, but there are side doors for people safely to get in.
Great. Thanks, Dave.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments on Minden's presentation?
Nope.
All right. Thank you very much, Vicky, for that update. That's really good to hear. And Cease for raising your point in Highlands East. That's also good to hear. Amanda, would you like to tell us a little bit about where you're at in Dysart?
Sure. I'm just learning about my new job here and about this committee and everything. So I do have a list here. So I apologize for reading verbatim right now. But that's just what I'm going to do in terms of improvements. We have 2 new accessible parking spots designated in front of the Haliburton Legion. A new accessible privy was constructed at Sandpoint Beach at Drag Lake. And a new accessible picnic table is on order for Glebe Park. There was also a new accessible beach mat that was put in place at Rotary Beach to enable people to get into the docks. And there's going to be transition plates placed over the gaps in the dock so that the wheels can glide from one section to the next. And there's been a new kayak arm installed on the dock at Rotary Beach, and that's intended to provide greater stability to individuals boarding kayaks on the water.
Great, really good. Yeah, and I remember hearing about those, a couple of those proposals at a previous meeting. So it's great to hear that there's been real progress there. Would anyone like to ask any questions? Or Walt, is there anything you wanted to comment on from your Dysart perspective?
No, I think Amanda covered everything.
Great. Any questions for Amanda? Okay, lovely. Thanks, Amanda, very much for that. It's super to hear. And I might just do a quick rendition of what's happening in Algonquin Highlands, if that's okay. Put my other hat on. It's been a very, very big year for our Public Works Department. We've completed work on one major new public works garage, which is completely accessible. And it's a beautiful building. And it's great to know that as new builds happen from now on, accessibility is just going to be fitted as standard as we go through. It's no longer a question anymore, and our new public works garage is, very much testament to that commitment. There was also a renovation, which is, I think, is it ongoing? I think it's still ongoing, to our old public works garage, and to refit it for new purposes. And as those renovations are ongoing, they're making it more accessible than before to reach standards, which is great news. We have a new section in one of our cemeteries. It's a green burial section at St. Stephen's, and the preparation of this section is really interesting, because the concept of the green burial section is that it is effectively a naturalized area. So the theory, or I suppose the attempt behind the work that we've been doing there, is to make sure that all of the pathways that lead up to the green burial section are fully accessible, but that we have policies in place that make sure that everyone understands that, especially during the winter season, we're not maintaining the actual green burial section for public access. So it's not advisable for anyone really to go in when conditions are not right for them, to come close to the area of internment. Bearing in mind that the philosophy behind green burial is not that each burial plot is sanctified for that one individual, but that the individuals interred there become one with the earth again. So it's not a recommended thing to go and visit where your loved one is buried per se, but to come and enjoy the nature that is created in that space, the reforestation and the lovely softscaping that we're doing there, to return it to its most natural space. So all of the access, all of the pathways and access to that section are AODA standard for sure. But beyond that, we're requesting and looking to people to just allow it to naturalize, rather than it being a pedestrian zone for anyone. So that's a little bit with where we're at there. We, as I've also mentioned, at the Oxtongue Lake Community Center, we now have 3 engineered plans to turn a very old building. I believe it was constructed in 1948 and it's seen very few alterations since then. We've got 3 plans on paper to make that building more accessible. That has not come to this committee yet, but I'll be sure that that it does before council makes its final recommendation or decision. And I'm also hoping to get some good community feedback on the 3 options, so that folks in our community who do have accessibility issues would be able to have their say on which model would work best for them. And the whole ethos is that once one model is decided as superior to the others, it will be shovel ready for any grants that come up. And if we're unable to find grants, council will obviously have to have the conversation about putting it into our regular levy. But we're hopeful that we'll be able to find grants in the meantime. And then on one of our other community centers down in Stanhope, we're working on the creation of an accessible lift to get into the main hall, because right now there's a series of stairs that you need to take to get to the main hall and also to the bathrooms. So that accessible lift is being worked on as we speak. So any thoughts or questions about Algonquin Highlands? All right. Well, then with that, I think I'd like to say thank you very much to our guests from our 3 municipalities. Really appreciate your time in offering your report and listening to the other reports. It's really, really great to have you with us. So thanks again, and we wish you well for the rest. Yes, Sue.
Hi, Councillor Dayu, through you. I just wanted to also note to Robin's point about the augmentative and alternative communication boards. As we know, Dysart has installed 2 AAC boards in Head Lake Park and Rotary Beach Park, one through this committee and one through a separate grant that they had received. I have heard from representatives at Algonquin Highlands, Highlands East, and Minden Hills, and they are working to install a board in a location of their choosing throughout their municipality in 2026. So that will be great news that we can look forward to in the new year.
Great. Thanks for that. So Sue, do we have a resolution then for this item on our agenda? If you wouldn't mind reading it, and then I'll ask for a mover and a seconder.
We do. So it is that the 2025 accessibility plan updates be approved as amended.
So before we go to move that, does anyone have any more global thoughts, broader thoughts about the plan as written before we move to accept it? All right, then may I have a mover and a seconder to adopt the plan? Ben and Cease. Thank you very much. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you so very much. That's great.
Yay.
Okay, good. So I guess we are down to point 10, International Day of Persons with Disabilities, December 3rd. So Sue, do you want to give us a sense of what we've done for that day?
Sure. So as discussed at this committee, County Council did make a proclamation on December 3rd, or they made it the week before, and we announced it on December 3rd, that International Day of Persons with Disability was proclaimed, which we posted to the county's website and social media page. In addition, we posted to social media about the committee revisiting the stopgap project in the community, asking the community to stay tuned for future updates from the committee about that project. We did hear back from one interested business, which is exciting. And we are meeting after this meeting for anyone who is able to stick around and form a subcommittee to further discuss the stopgap project. We can meet after this meeting.
Great, thank you. Thoughts or questions there? Yes, Ben.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that I would be happy to stick around for that, considering how I've spoken with Luke in the past, and I've kind of brought this to everybody's attention. So
That's awesome. Thank you, Ben. All right, there are no other thoughts there. Thanks for that, Sue. We've discussed the accessibility plan. Sue, thoughts on the Haliburton County Accessibility Awards Recognition Program?
Absolutely. So a report is before you on a draft Haliburton County Accessibility Awards Recognition Program, as was discussed at the October Accessibility Committee meeting. This draft program is modeled on the Quinte West Awards Recognition Program, which has been popular and quite successful in that region. I'm hoping members have had an opportunity to review this draft report, and I'm looking for any feedback, changes, or additions that you would like to bring forward. One note is that the draft award categories include community member, community organization, and community business. In City of Kawartha Lakes, categories are similar. I believe they did add a youth category this year for youth who show initiative, empathy, and leadership, and who work toward creating more inclusive environments. So just a note that there are award categories that are open for discussion. Another note too is that the dates included in this report have been suggested to meet the request of the committee in announcing results of this program during National Accessibility Week in May. Alternatively, the dates could be shifted so that we might instead celebrate Accessibility Award winners in December on International Day of Persons with Disabilities, which is currently what both Quinte West and City of Kawartha Lakes do. But again, open for feedback or discussion and happy to make any changes as necessary to the program.
Yes, Ben.
I'm just suggesting that we do it in May simply because I don't know how you're going to present the award, whether you choose to do it online or in person. But odds are that if you do it in person, May is going to be a significantly easier time of the year to do so versus December. Like the way things are right now, I can't even use the sidewalks to get out of my apartment with this weather. So I would imagine that if you wanted to do an event where you recognize whatever it is, whether it's a youth member or a community member, May is going to probably be the easiest if you're doing it with someone that does have a disability themselves. So I move that May would be the easiest time of the year.
Yes, and barring black flies, I think that is the recommended time of year. If I'm not mistaken, it's May 27th that you're considering or you're suggesting that we have the awards presentation. Is that right, Sue?
I believe it's that week, yes.
Yeah.
I think it's the last week of May.
Yeah, I think
It
that's
says May 27th.
yeah, I think that's right on. Great.
Perfect.
And did you also have a thought?
Is there a form or something like that? Because some people find it much easier to sort of fill in a form or have some examples on how to fill it in. Because, it's kind of broad, and a lot of people would be more successful if they had some kind of outline form or something like that to look at, to give them, ideas.
Yes, so this outline of the program would be included on a web page, and that web page can lead to a form, absolutely, to ensure that folks can nominate people as easily as possible. We can review that as well at the committee.
Thank you. The only question that I had regarding the proposal is with regards to nominees whose paid employment or education requirements include an accessibility component, and they would not be eligible for the award unless they demonstrate exceptional accomplishment. I wonder, is there a way of fleshing out what we mean by that? Because I'd hate for someone who is passionate about it but happens to get paid for it to not be eligible. So how could we differentiate that from exceptional accomplishment? Is that something you're able to speak to, Sue, or
Yeah, sure. So this was based on the Quinte West outline, and I'm happy to hear any feedback from the committee if any changes need to be made there, for sure.
Okay. Ben, did you have a thought on that or something else? Because we can circle back.
My thought was if you're going to award somebody for, say, for example, the attributions that they're making towards the accessibility in this community. Number one, examine, are they doing it with a disability themselves? Because to me, it feels like if they are going above and beyond and they don't have a disability, then I don't know if they should receive the award for doing their job extraordinarily well. And number one, how much money are they making for it? Because I know that I'm specifically on disability benefits, but if I was getting a whole salary based on what I was doing, then it'd be like, give the award to somebody else who's working above and beyond and only on benefits versus, oh, I have a full salary and now I get this award on top of it. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Okay, I get it. Yeah. And I guess that's where the wording that's already there does support that that judgment call a little bit. You know, it allows for both, but under deliberate circumstances, circumstances that have been thought through very, very much. Yeah. Other thoughts on that or any other point on the proposal? I do like it. I also like the idea of a youth award. I think that's a great idea. Don't know if others would agree with that, but I think that's also a lovely way of recognizing, of encouraging youth to, you know, to get involved in this way. No other thoughts? So the selection committee would be comprised of the members of this committee. The award selection committee will choose the finalists from the nominations received. All selected committee deliberations will remain confidential and decisions are final. Are people happy with that as well? Because it does refer to you and us. Yeah. Okay. And nominations would open fairly soon. So this is our chance. If there are any other ideas for amendments to the proposal, then now is absolutely the time. Ben?
Well, I'm just asking in terms of when we give this award, how are we deciding who gets it? Are we doing a majority vote or are we just putting it in hat and going, well, we'll pick this one? Because some people might think one is more deserving than the other, and we don't want to make anyone feel left out. So maybe we could do it almost like here is the first place prize, here is the second place prize on account of here's to the work that all of you have done. And then at the same time, perhaps we could do something for the youth award where we give them a little bit of an incentive prize when they get the award, like this is for your school funding later on. Oh, not like a full scholarship, but something along those lines.
Yeah, no, fair point. And I think we definitely have time to table those questions as an agenda point in future meetings before we get to the deciding stage. There are 4 selection factors that have been outlined in the proposal, and my expectation is that we would somehow grade each candidate according to those selection criteria and maybe rank, you know, a 1, 2, or 3. Not rank one against the other, but you know, mark each as 1, 2, or 3, and then table them at the end. But it's a good point. I think it's something that we should figure out before we receive any of the nominations. That is for sure. The proposal does not specify like a second place or a third place. If that's something the committee wants to consider, now would be the right time to have that conversation and make that decision so that it's known before January. I do see the benefit to that. I also wonder if, given the size of our community, if the first runner-up, you know, this year would very likely be the recipient next year, and whether we've got enough of a critical mass of nominees to have a runner-up status, knowing that
Right.
we would be giving this year on year.
That's why when you're saying the youth award, I'm like, I don't even know how many youth we have here.
Yeah, no, fair, absolutely fair. Other thoughts from others on that? Lisa.
I think in the beginning, I think we should stick to what Sue has presented, the 3 or 4, I guess would be if we add the youth to it. It's much like in Minden Hills, we do a different volunteers get different awards each year for Good Neighbor Award, that kind of thing. And there's a committee that sits down and there's a criteria that's been met, and whoever meets the greatest criteria gets the prize. And I think if there's one prize, I think it is incentive for people to maybe try harder next year to actually win first prize.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense. Thoughts from others?
And for the youth, if I may add, I don't mind. I kind of like Benen's idea, maybe even $100 or something for like a bursary of some kind. If the county can come up with that, which I'm sure Sue has that in her budget.
Yeah, I think we'd have to,
Can,
yes, please, Dave.
Jen,
Go.
can I make one, if you don't mind? And
Yeah.
yes, we can find money to do such a thing. And I am going to take a bit of pride in this one. Out in Highlands East, like we were the first one for the school children to have what they called the mayor's bursary, and I've given that out for probably the last 10 years. And yes, we can do things like that, and there are funds to do it.
Okay, good. Because I wondered procedurally if that's something that that we're able to do. So great to hear that there's precedent for that. I very much like the idea, for the youth award, for sure. Is that something that others wish to comment on at this stage? I wonder if we should table a vote on that. Yes, Cease.
I'm not sure if it even comes close to that, but there's organizations that are really cool. A good friend of mine is deeply involved with the Red Wolves, and for those of you who may or may not know who the Red Wolves are, they're a variety of age of people. Well, most of them probably adolescent, probably early 20s maybe. And the whole idea is to just not concentrate so much on accessibility, but just concentrate on enjoyment and the quality of life. It's mostly through sports. And so is that the kind of thing that perhaps should get honorable mention? When we do it, we could just recognize the kind of work that's being done for people that don't just have physical challenges that are related to accessing something, although accessibility can be defined in many, many ways. But it might be an organization, perhaps, that is contributing towards the well-being of our some of our more restricted people.
Yeah, I think that would be something that if everyone is in favor of the selection factors, I think an organization like that could certainly be evaluated according to those factors. And it could be that, what they're doing or the way they're doing it is having a particular impact that may not have the explicit focuses of accessibility, but is having the desired impact. So I think it would be something that would be weighed up against the other candidates and against the selection factors for sure. Yeah. Ben? Oh, you're on mute.
Well, I was going to say one thing that I think we could either reach out to or we could get involved in is recognizing the work that the people at Community Living, regardless of where it is, whether it's in Trent Highlands or any other groups within the county, we can also give either a mention or we can nominate somebody from that group, because whether they're just doing work in the office or whether they're supporting one of the individuals that live in community living, they're doing a lot of work over there, and I don't recall them getting too much recognition for it.
Yeah, thanks. And I think the award criteria would allow that. As you were speaking, I was thinking about how the city of Kawartha Lakes actually acts as our consolidated service manager for certain things, and there are partners that they work with who are based in city of Kawartha Lakes who support very much Haliburton. So just being sure that those folks outside of our jurisdiction, but who have an impact in our jurisdiction, are able to receive the award is important. And I think the way I read it, I think they would be eligible according to the criteria as they're listed here. But you bet, I think that's really important. If I could just circle back to the idea of the $100 bursary for youth, or what do people think about that, and is $100 the right amount? Because I think we should probably decide that. Or I don't know, Dave, you might be able to advise, is that something that County Council would have to decide with our recommendation, or is that something we might decide just ourselves? Well, I think we've lost him there. Yeah, I think we might have lost Dave Burton. Sue, do you have a sense, or do any of the county councillors, could I just throw it your way? Is there some, do you have a recommendation on that?
I think there's probably money within even the accessibility committee, perhaps. Maybe Sue would know that we could just, yeah.
Just
I
do
think,
it.
and I think $100 probably is enough of an incentive and a great prize.
Okay.
I think too the whole idea of just the recognition itself. I mean, money always helps, but I don't know how it works in the county or the rest. But in Highlands East, we have a fund that we allocate for just recognizing stuff that we're not even sure at the beginning of what it is we're going to recognize. But and that sounds kind of goofy, but it's in relation to things that are outstanding that take place during the year. And so rather than, and it's $100, you know, might get all excited and go 250, but the point I'm making is a very small amount. And so therefore you can't really put it as a line item. So but we might set aside, I don't know, $2,500, and that money is used for the kinds of things. It may go to 10, may go to 25 people. It really depends on what comes up that particular year. But that might be a way, and I'm sure the county council must have something equivalent to that.
Okay, thanks. Ben.
Well, I think it also depends on who we give the award to, because for me, it feels like, all right, if let's say we nominated someone under the age of 18 for extraordinary work that they're doing, odds are if we just give them $100, that's not going to last very long. They'll probably just be like, yay, I got this award, and next day they might spend that money on candy. Whereas if we gave them like $2,500 to a young adult that's in school, they might use it towards book savings and college and whatever. I'm just saying that maybe we should do something to where whatever we award them, whether it's a bursary or whether it's just a certificate that says congratulations, let's give them something that they can use and it will last, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yep, I hear what you're saying. I do. Lisa.
I don't disagree with that if that was a possibility. However, sitting through many of the graduation ceremonies for the grade 12s at Halliburton Highlands Secondary School, I can tell you that most of them are not $2,500, and that getting $100 here and there, maybe even up to five for some things, is normal. But I think I don't think that $2,500 is an appropriate amount for something like this, especially when the other ones aren't receiving anything. If we're only looking at put a monetary amount to the youth one, or maybe we just take the monetary one out and just do them as a recognition then, if that's the case.
Yeah.
And
I don't think you can control. If you're giving a gift, you're giving a gift for somebody having done something. And I think it's very hard to control how they spend it.
yeah, no, I do agree there. Yeah. It's also, I think the ethics of gift giving is that what they do with the gift is entirely up to them. But I do appreciate the question of amount. And I do see your point, Ben. It would be different, you know, if it's a 10-year-old who's done a bake sale to raise money for a stopgap ramp versus someone who's done an exceptional job advocating for a major policy change or whatever it might be. But it's not something that we would be able to foresee. So I think we've got to set an amount that would be appropriate for any of those scenarios, which for me suggests the lesser amount. I think, you know, to Lisa's point, I think 2,500 would be rather exceptional. And it could be that in some years we don't have many candidates, and you know, and a bursary of that amount should, I think, be held for a truly exceptional contribution, which we'd want to have every year, but who knows? Who knows? Other thoughts? Because we
Yeah,
seem to be a bit not divided, but there are lots of ideas floating around. Cease.
well, I mentioned the number 2,500, and that all that is our total pool. That's what we put in our budget. And like I say, we can give it out to usually not, but at least 10 to 25 people.
Okay.
And it depends on what it is. And I think what your point was well taken, Jennifer. Sometimes you don't use it all because in any particular year, there may not necessarily be, and it's a terrible way to talk, I suppose, when you look at the entire population, but nevertheless, there may be not enough to recognize the entire use. So what would probably happen is we would just top it up the following year too, so that we always have that money set aside in case something really spectacular happens and we want to recognize it. But it's not intended to be given out as a one large amount in a $2,500 lot. It's just that we're not trying to run through our budget to try to find it. It's we need $100 for a really good thing, then that's where we draw from.
So just to summarize where we are, is there anyone who is particularly opposed to a monetary celebration of youth of some kind? Is there someone who just is philosophically against that idea? Okay, so next question then for decision is the amount. I've heard greater amounts, I've heard lesser amounts. I think I would prefer to keep it on the smaller side, at least in the first couple of years. We can always revisit that in future years. But I think I would be confident moving for $100. Do other people have a different suggestion they want to put forward? And we can take a poll based on the suggestions put forward. Anne. You're on mute, Anne.
Muted, yeah. I think $100 is a really nice round figure. It's not too big. It's just a sort of token gesture. I like the $100. I think it's perfect.
Okay. Are there other suggestions? Ben. Oh, you're on mute as well.
Dang it, hard to remember whether you're on mute or not. But I think it depends on who we're nominating, because $100 is, to say, for example, a kid is no small amount of money. Whether to an adult, if they're doing an extraordinary contribution, they might not. It'll just be like, hey, thanks. I'm just gonna move on. Maybe what we could also do is, like, maybe instead of money, if they want, they could do a gift card voucher for a local business, because it's like, hey, we're rewarding you, but you're also helping us out at the same time.
Yeah, gift cards are certainly ways that some organizations go. I think then we're also getting into Anne's point about directing how people should spend their celebratory gift. So there are implications there too. Lisa.
Yeah, I think cash is definitely the way to go, because then we're now favoring as a county, we're favoring businesses. So that's not really a good thing that we can do, Ben, unfortunately. And the other thing is when you were talking about age, I'm sure that Sue has an idea in her mind when she says that if it's in a youth award, that it's up to the age of 21 or maybe 18, I'm not sure, but it's not going to be some 40-year-old receiving the youth award and only getting $100.
I don't know. It's hard not to award a 4-year-old something.
No, I didn't say 4, I said 40-year-old. So I think it needs to be from 0 or whatever to 18, 21, whatever. I mean, Sue might have a better suggestion on that, but I would think that almost 21 would be the up limit of that. Or I don't know, I guess it's changed. Maybe youth are considered 25 now. As I get way past that, I don't
I
see
still
it
feel like
anymore.
a youth.
So I'm not really sure what I would take Sue's direction from this on how we should decide what is youth considered.
And to that,
sorry, Councillor
go
Dyer.
ahead, Sue.
Just to note that yes, I believe Point in Time does. I believe it's 25 and under. It might be 24 and under. I can check with them, but again, up to the committee as well. If it's your category to decide, what you would consider youth or not.
I like $100 and 25 years old and under.
Yeah, I like taking the point in time level to keep it consistent across the county. I think that's that's very clever. Yeah. And I do think I completely agree, Ben. $100 to a 7-year-old is very different than $100 to a 21-year-old. But because there's no way of knowing in advance who our nominees are, we have to set an award that would be consistent regardless of who wins. And I think that's really key. We can't, we can't wait to see and then make up our minds. So we need to feel very comfortable with the amount we give, knowing that it could be a 6-year-old who's done just the most incredible bake sale anyone has ever seen, or it could be someone at school, indeed. So, Assis, you're on mute too. It's a.
I really like the idea of just keeping it $100. And why am I saying that? Because this is a trial. This is the first one we're going to do. And what I would rather see, bear in mind, I mean, everything's tight, but if you're looking at $100 in the county budget, I think we're going to be okay there. So maybe next year we decide, hey, there should be 2 categories or maybe 3 categories. And if they're all $100, the world is not going to come to an end. But if we start making the numbers too big or varying them, I just think that it's a precedent that we don't want to go. I'd rather see us keep 100 this year, stay with what we're doing, review it the next time around and say, hey, there's a second category here. It's in the accessibility thing, and it's worth being recognized on its own. So next time we have 2 $100 ones.
Yeah.
It makes it, but the recognition is what's there. They get the credit for what they've done, even though they may not have been motivated to do it for that.
Great. So I'm hearing fairly consistent 100 across the board, and I appreciate it's not perfect. Is there anyone opposed to setting that as a figure, knowing that it might go to a 6-year-old one year and an 18-year-old the next year? All right. So I think that that brings us to a consensus on that. Wonder if we need a resolution, or can we add that to the resolution, Sue? Are you a quick scribe? And does anyone have any further and final comments about the proposal? Okay. What do you think, Sue?
Does this work? That the Haliburton County Accessibility Awards Recognition Program be received as information, that the program be amended to include a youth category with a cash award, and that staff bring the program forward to County Council.
Could we say a cash award of a recommended $100? Or again, I wonder if we are recommending or if we're deciding.
I would say recommended for sure, but I definitely say the amount. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So a recommended $100
with a cash award of a recommended $100.
Yeah, that's great. Could I have if there are no other amendments or questions on that, if I could have a mover and a seconder? Ben and Lisa, thank you. All in favor? That's carried. Wonderful. Good. That's a big deal. Thanks, everyone. Just getting back to my agenda now. I think the only other thing under new business. Oh no, there's the meeting schedule as well. Okay, so has everyone had an opportunity to review the meeting schedule? It's pretty much along the lines that we've had this year. Any concerns? Okay, Cease.
I really don't have any concerns. You just got to remember that as the year progresses, we could end up having to bump stuff because of, like every other committee. So I really don't have any problem tying it to the end of a council meeting. Sounds to be a pretty good way of doing it.
Okay. And now that we're sitting here, it didn't even occur to me beforehand. Um, do the meetings fall happily into the January and May awards? So I think there's one in February, which I guess would work. So the award nominations would close before our February meeting, presumably, and then and then we have one in April. So that would work for May as well. Yeah. So I guess as long as nominations close before our February meeting, then we're okay. Okay.
Let me check. I believe they were intended to. Nominations are open from Monday, January 12th, 2026 until Tuesday, March 31st, 2026. And then the review period is April 2026. Then the awards would be presented on Wednesday, May 27th, which is council, to recognize National Accessibility Week.
Okay, perfect. So that works. Ben, thoughts on the schedule?
Well, as far as the award, the limit of how long people can choose to vote, I also think that in between that time, we also need to raise as much awareness that this is even happening, because given how far spread out people can be, given how they might not all be aware of what's going on our website due to how random our weather can be, I think we should also find different avenues to spread out that, hey, we are going to recognize the members of our community for your efforts towards the disability community, because this is not only our first attempt at doing it, but it's also something that hasn't really gotten a lot of attention in the past. So we might need to spend all that time while we're waiting for people to vote to raise awareness that this is happening in the first place.
Yeah, very fair point. And maybe we could make sure that it hits council agenda at the time that we open up publicizing for this, so that it can be recognized at council that it's starting, as well as being picked up by the media. And I'm sure there would be, Sue's very good at this, and making sure that our media contact people get the news at the right time. But maybe we could add it to an agenda at the right time too. Yeah, it's a really important point.
And as far as the schedule, I think that because it's pretty much the same as last year, once every other month where we get together. My only concern is just will we need to have more than our usual meetings because of things that are happening? Will we need, because of me being on the committee with the Stopgap project, I think maybe a bit more advanced notice would be a good idea, or from whether you're coming to the meeting or not, and when extra meetings would be happening, just because of, again, we might have another ice storm in April for all we know. And people get sick, people just forget that this is even happening sometimes.
Yeah, no, fair point. I think now that we've got a schedule, we'll be able to get it into our agendas, and then we can make sure that a reminder goes out with ample notice. We can always add extra meetings if we need to. We can always do that. So if Stopgap subcommittee has something that they need to see put through sooner rather than later, we can absolutely schedule that meeting. Yeah, or make changes as needs be. You bet.
Yep.
So no other thoughts on schedule? I think do you have a resolution for the schedule, Sue? It's to receive, I assume?
That's right, that the proposed 2026 committee meeting schedule be received and accepted.
Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Kathy, thank you. And Walt? All in favor? And that's carried. Thanks. Great. So finally, we did have one resignation from the committee. Sue, gonna pass it to you. Do you want to just give us a line or two of explanation so we can put that to county council for their knowledge?
Give me one moment, please. Okay, so yes, we did have a resignation from our committee member, Mann. They were needing to step down due to their new professional commitment. We did send a note to them to express our sincere gratitude for their interest in the Joint Accessibility Committee. We have appreciated their work with the committee thus far and have been grateful for their contributions, time, and effort during this term. But because they have a new role, they knew that it would be challenging to be able to make the committee meetings as much as they would like to. So we did send a note, as I mentioned. They did send a letter of resignation, and if the committee can accept that resignation with, of course, our deep regrets, then we can bring it forward to council.
And we're still within a period of time that we'd be able to request the county council review or do a call out for new members and review perhaps some of our older roster. Okay.
Absolutely. We have had interest in the committee as well. So
okay. So may I have a mover and a seconder to accept that resignation? Ben and Cease, thank you. And we'll get that on the county council agenda so that we can do a call out for new members. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Great. So I think that wraps us up fairly well. Next meeting date is Wednesday, February the 11th, 2026. Hard to believe, at 1 p.m. Could I have a motion to adjourn? Ben, and a seconder? Cease. All in favor? And that's carried. Thanks very much, everyone, for your time and your great inputs, and we'll see you in February.
Chair Dayu,
sorry, yes, Sue.
Sorry, so for those who are staying for the stopgap project subcommittee, my understanding is that you can just stay here, and for anybody who's not able to stay, you are free to leave for the rest of the afternoon. And then our IT team